So the Cleveland Cavaliers are advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance since 2018. Anyone know the significance of that? That was the last time LeBron James was in wine and gold for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so they make their first conference finals since 2018, their first ever conference finals since 1992 without LeBron James. In stunning fashion. Look, I picked the Cavaliers to win the series. I picked the Cavaliers to win the game. The Cavaliers are my finals pick at the end of the day, right? And coming into this game, I wasn't entirely confident in how it was going to shake out. I'll be completely honest with you. I wasn't super confident in it, but I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I actually feel like they're going to pull this off, right? And as that game started, I didn't expect it to go like this. It was a dismantling, right? It was a blowout that I wasn't expecting. The Cavaliers outworked them. The Detroit Pistons, a team that I felt like had outworked the Cavs in Game 6, quite honestly, right? I mean, if we take a look at the statistical comparison of how these two teams matched up when they played Game 6, I mean, it wasn't particularly close, right? I felt like, Detroit had all those points in the paint. They had Cleveland beating bench points, and it just kind of felt like the Cavaliers lacked a sense of urgency that Detroit had. They elevated that level of intensity, in my personal opinion, when I was watching that game, and it kind of felt to me like Detroit was the team that wanted it more, simply put, right? I mean, just take a look at what happened in Game 6 with how Detroit was how they were dominating the paint. Well, quite honestly, the inverse happened, right? So in Game 6, Detroit had 48 points in the paint compared to Cleveland's 26 points in the paint. And then when you look at their second chance points, 20 to Cleveland's 13, right? Well, juxtapose that to what happened here in this Game 7, it was almost the complete opposite, right? Cleveland dominated the points in the paint. They had 58 points in the paint compared to Detroit's 34, right? They beat them on the glass, 50 boards to 41. Second chance points, 18 to Detroit's 11, right? More points off turnovers. Turnovers have been a thing this entire series long, and Cleveland tonight only managed with just 11 turnovers, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, when you evaluate how well Cleveland played in this particular game, it's something that I'm kind of fascinated by. Like it really just, it's crazy how things can change in a series or in a game from a game to game perspective, from a game to game basis. Detroit had just come off an impressive, resounding, probably an emotional win in Cleveland, and are now coming home, forced that Game 7, are coming home in front of their home fans and have an opportunity to go to the conference finals. And a lot of folks probably thought this was going to happen for them. And for whatever reason, Cleveland beat them at what they were beating Cleveland at in the 3 games that they won in this series. And like I said, that was the most fascinating thing to me, watching it unfold that way, especially in Detroit. For a Game 7 on the road, like that's the craziest part to me, where all the momentum seemed to have been swinging towards Detroit, right? All of a sudden, it just wasn't, right? And you got to give, to me, the utmost amount of credit to Donovan Mitchell, right? The leader, the guy who led the charge. Look, I've been critical of Donovan throughout the course of this entire series. The last video I made, I said that there was a level of distrust that I had as somebody who picked the Cavaliers to win, that when Harden would go to the bench and it was just him on the court, I wasn't confident that Donovan would be able to sustain offensive productivity, right? And the off the court numbers that I presented in my last video bore that out, right? But at the end of the day, this game was completely different, and it was a welcome sight for him specifically, right? He finished with 26, 6 and 8 assists. Those 8 assists are so important. Remember, in Game 6, I was very critical of the fact that I felt like in that third quarter, late in that third period, I kind of felt like he was forcing stuff. And when he was forcing those shots, it kind of helped Detroit kind of, build upon that lead and grow that lead and create some separation that I think they eventually pulled away and won the game with, right? In this instance, I think from a process-oriented standpoint, with how Donovan, operated as a whole, right? And when I say process, I mean how you approached it, right? I'm not trying to force anything. I'm not rushing anything. I'm not trying too hard to get mine, right? I'm going to get mine through the flow of the game. And it felt like it was such an organic feel for the game that I feel like Donovan at times lacks. But in this particular game, from the jump, right, that oop to or I think it was an oop, but either way, it was a pass to Mobley to set him up for a dunk, right? Did a nice little couple of passes to Jarrett Allen as well to get him going in the paint. We're going to talk about Jarrett Allen too, don't worry. And then able to kind of, after he got those guys going, settle into the game himself, got himself going with a couple, layups and floaters, and then obviously the shot came when it did as well, and he was phenomenal, in my personal opinion. Took good shots. There was not a shot that I felt like tonight that Donovan took that I was like, I didn't like it. No, every shot, the shot diet for Cleveland to me was perfect tonight. So kudos to Donovan, and he was a plus 30, had a plus 30 net rating tonight, and was plus 17 in plus minus for the game. You got to give him credit, man. Credit where credit is due. His best game probably, in my personal opinion, not like obviously stats wise and everything, like he's had better games, but when you take into account the stakes, right, and what was at stake and the position that Cleveland was in terms of what could have happened, right, to me this was maybe the best game he's played in a Cavaliers uniform as a playoff performer, right? This was, like I said, from a process standpoint, the best game he's played. And I really, really wanted to make sure I gave him his flowers. Next on the flowers, I got to give Jarrett Allen. Look, I got to ask you guys something. Like, is Game 7 Jarrett Allen, like, becoming a thing? Like, legitimately, like, is it becoming a thing? Because I'm looking at how he did in Game 7 of the Toronto series, right? In Game 7, he had 22 and 19, and his impact felt tremendously, especially in that second half, right? And then in this series, in this Game 7, it just seemed like they didn't have an answer for him. Every time he got the ball in the paint, he tried to go to work on Tobias Harris. Tobias had no choice but to foul him. He was phenomenal. Plus 31. He had 23 points, 8 boards. He was so good for this Cavalier team. And it's one of those things where I'm like, Jarrett Allen has been an easy target of criticism, I feel like, for the Cleveland Cavaliers over the course of the past. This entire, let him know era, I would say. He's been an easy target of softness and lack of physicality. When you think of the Cleveland Cavaliers and their quote-unquote lack of physicality, Jarrett Allen, I feel like, was kind of the embodiment of that. And to me, so far in this postseason, these 2 Game 7s, to me, they don't fit that narrative, right? When you look at what Jarrett has done and how he's played in these big moments, he's looked better, physical, right? And he's looked like a man amongst boys when he's played in these Game 7s, right? And I feel like this has done a great deal of justice to his PR and that narrative that he's quote unquote soft. And I think, for somebody like him, it's a big deal because he's played very well. Honestly, in my opinion, this entire postseason, I save maybe a couple games, but I mean, he's one of those guys that I feel like is dependent on how much the guards and how often the guards feed him. His impact on the game has to be felt in other ways, and I think he's done that with rebounding, offensive rebounding, getting extra possessions for his team, defending the basket, getting block shots, altering shots, just being a presence and a force down there. And I think Jarrett has definitely contributed to this team's success and is a huge part as to why they're in the conference finals coming up. And then last but not least, Evan Mobley. Look, I get it. A lot of folks aren't going to always count the numbers and see, he's only averaging 18 and 8 or something to that effect. And obviously 18 and 8 is still a pretty decent average. It's not like he's dominating. It's not like it's 20 and 10 or something to that effect. But not Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley's having impact, like legitimate impact on these basketball games. I mean, look at these numbers over the last 4 games: 17, 8, and 5, along with 5 blocks and 5 steals, or 5 blocks and 3 steals, in Game 4, the game the Cavaliers won. Remember, the Cavs won 3 straight games, right? So games 4, they won Game 3, obviously. Game 4, Game 5, right? 19, 9, 8 assists, 3 blocks, 1 steal. And then in Game 6, although they lost, still 18-6, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. And in this Game 7, 21-12, 6 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. And been a plus 30 in all 4 of those games, impacting the game on so many different levels, impacting the game by getting his teammates involved, primarily making the right decision on those short rolls, right? That's part of the reason why tonight Detroit had such a hard time guarding Cleveland, because they realized Evan makes such great decisions coming off that short roll, and they wanted to kind of limit that decision making, right? So it became a point where they couldn't figure out what they wanted to concede, which is why at times shooters for Cleveland had a lot of space to operate, and the 3-pointers were falling initially, especially earlier on with Sam Merrill cashing in, right? So he's keeping his teammates involved. So that's one area of the game he's impacting, right? And then on the defensive side, right, he's getting deflections. He's getting his hands on a lot of Cade's passes when he's trying to make those passes in the short roll. He's making it difficult for Cade when he's involved in the pick and roll, right? In addition to altering shots at the rim and blocking shots. So he's impacting the game on the defensive side of the ball as well. And then on top of that, he's scoring. Like he shot the 3 ball solidly in this entire series, giving you 17 points, 19 points, 18 points, 21 points respectively, right? Evan Mobley's impact is something that shouldn't be understated, and it's something that I feel like is something to keep an eye on going forward, especially in this matchup with Karl-Anthony Towns in the Eastern Conference Finals. But we will see what happens going forward. I just wanted to get on here, give my thoughts on this Game 7. I probably will try. I don't know if I'll get it out. We'll see. I'm going to definitely try and do like a conference finals preview even after the game starts, because I know the game starts tomorrow for the Spurs and Thunder. But nonetheless, definitely going to make sure I try to get like a preview out and prediction stuff. Like, I mean, you guys already have my predictions, right? I predicted that these would be the Final 4, and that the Cavs and Spurs would be the ones that would be there in the end. But still, kind of just talking about the series and what I expect to happen and how I think it's going to go, right? And how these two teams match up. But yeah, just want to give my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this Game 7 in the comment section below, and who you think will win the conference finals and represent the East. And we'll see you next time. But until next time, hope you keep it inside the lines.